groups of members who are present declare the motion negative.
第二項無立法效力嘅議案。
The second debate on motion with no legislative effect, developing the economy and improving people's livelihood. Members who wish to speak in the motion debate will please press the request to speak button. I now call upon Honorable Chan Hak-kan to speak and move the motion. Honorable Chan Hak-kan. Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the motion as printed on the agenda be passed. Mr. President, in the second half of the year, the economy of Hong Kong is influenced by a number of uncertainties in the external environment. We're not sure about the interest rate adjustments in the U.S., the European case, as well as the downside risk of the Chinese economy. Therefore, in the second half of the year, we are still facing with the fluctuations in the financial services market. The external trade is weak. We are faced with many challenges. The economic growth rate is slower than that for the first half of the year. And then we have got long-standing, deep-rooted issues. For the past 10 years, there were 3 engines driving the economy. They've all slowed down. All the pillar industries have faced with bottleneck problems. For our economy, we are facing huge challenges. There are also many deep-rooted and long-standing livelihood issues, land supply, the plight of the poor, the upward mobility of the young, etc. Therefore, the DAB earlier on organized 3 sessions in a row to talk about the economic challenges and ways to improve livelihood. We have invited business leaders and community leaders to come together to talk about the sustainable development of our economy. After that roundtable discussion, the views of the participants were put together into a book covering economy, livelihood, upward mobility of young people, as well as easing the burdens of the people. We have also given a copy to the administration expressing our wish list. So here I would like to ask everybody to put aside their political disputes so that the government can focus on developing the economy and improve our livelihood, so as to formulate comprehensive and long-term economic development strategies to cope with the changes and to improve the governance. Now, the external environment is uncertain. Terrorism is spreading. As a result, the global economy is under a pessimistic mood, and we can't escape from such external factors, and it is beyond our control. But then internally, there are other factors which we can make adjustments, which we're able to change. Currently, Hong Kong urgently needs a transformation in the economy. We need to promote the 4 new pillar industries. Hong Kong must take a step further, and we must have innovative services. We must have innovation technology. We should ride on the advantage of One Belt, One Road initiative. As the FS has said earlier on, it is expected that in the medium term, we will enter a phase of low economic growth. It will become the new norm. If we don't innovate, if we don't try to have our traditional economic sectors entering the Internet Plus, then it means that in the Asian region will be marginalized. When it comes to economic development, other DAB colleagues will elaborate on that aspect. Here, I would like to focus on the livelihood-related issues as well as my own suggestions. First of all, land supply. Mr. President, we all know that in Hong Kong, we have a very severe shortage of land supply problem. It has pushed upwards the land prices and property prices as well as the rental. Therefore, the living conditions have deteriorated, and people are prevented from home ownership. The wealth gap has deteriorated for the past decade, and upward social mobility has been weakened. Many households find themselves crowded into into a very small cubicle, and I don't think it is what an advanced city like Hong Kong should have. Now, our suggestion to the government is that we must change the land uses of many sites. We should develop the brown sites. We should also develop the sites which have low ecological value. We should establish a platform with membership of green groups so that we can find solutions to create more land and we can strike a consensus. The housing problem in Hong Kong is a deep-rooted one. It isn't just a matter of accommodation. It is also a matter of ownership of assets, and it is also a matter of upward social mobility. Not too long ago, a think tank has said that 80% of the households in Hong Kong should have home ownership. And it is suggested that the government should provide a subsidy scheme to help with home ownership. We believe that it is an idea worth the consideration of the administration. Scholars and experts have told us that increasing the housing supply can help the poor to be lifted out of poverty. That would be the first step. It is also a way to increase upward social mobility. It will also reduce intergenerational poverty. This is because with possession of assets, it means that there will be money and you are in a position to borrow money and you can raise funds. And then you can use that capital to invest to start a business. For young people, as a result, you can then get married. That will be much easier when you own your own property. If not, it will be difficult to take the first step in all such directions. And the assets can be passed to the second generation, and it will be easier for the second generation to to take a step forward. Mr. President, for the wealth gap in Hong Kong, it is getting worse and worse. In 2014, we have got a report concerning global wealth. It is said that 1/10 of the people in Hong Kong possess 70.5% of the total wealth in Hong Kong. So in Hong Kong, the income distribution is most uneven. In 2014, we have got 0.96 million Hong Kong people who are poor. That is 1 out of 7 Hong Kongers is poor. You may very well query whether it is possible to alleviate poverty with policies. There are also worries that this will only increase public expenditure. However, if you look at it from another perspective, by alleviating poverty, it will do good and no harm at all, because for our resources, we will be using the resources to help people to make their ends meet. It won't be a matter of misspending the money. Not too long ago, there was this household that was applying for the low-income working family allowance. And then the mother was interviewed, and she said that with that supplement, it means that she will have more time to take care of her child. Then the daughter will be given good care, and then she'll become a better person. If she has not got this help, then that means she has to do part-time work, and then the daughter cannot have her potential realized, and then she cannot improve her financial situation. So first of all, we need to alleviate poverty. In this way, it means that we should release the labor force so that they can contribute to the society. Our welfare policy can be regarded as an investment rather than an expenditure. For our poverty issue, if it cannot be resolved, it means that it will destabilize the society. Many people would agree with me that the people of Hong Kong do not have opportunities to move upwards socially. The best way to deal with this is to enhance the ability to move upwards. I know many young people, they're willing to add value to themselves. They want to have continuing education. They want to train themselves. They want to get more skills. They know that with employable skills, it is not difficult to be taken out of poverty. I think the government should help this group of young people who are willing to work hard. Well, when we try to help young people to move upwards, it means that we can enhance the talent pool in Hong Kong. And in fact, we have got many initiatives to help the young to set up their own business. First of all, education. I think we should enhance vocational education and training. For those who are not suited for mainstream education, should be given vocational education. We should also promote the economic contribution of vocational education. And parents should be told that vocational education is not the second choice. In this way, it means that we won't have succession problems in the traditional sectors of our economy, and young people of different and diverse abilities can find the best pathway for themselves. At the same time, we need to improve our policies concerning career and life planning. SMEs should also be asked to take part in a platform to give work experience to the young people. And this way, the young people will have more opportunities to try their skills, and then secondary school students and university undergraduates will have first-hand experience of understanding the labor market, and then they can choose the right career for themselves at an early stage. We need to have projection of human resources demand or manpower. In this way, we know the type of skills that we need, and then post-secondary educational institutions can tie in with the needs of the society, and then young people will become more employable. Now come to employment. We can learn from the experience of Qianhai, and then in the other two places, Hengqin and also Nansha. Well, in fact, they are the free trade zones. I think we can make use of their positional advantage, and in this way, we can put together the resources in Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. Now, Mr. President, if we just turn all our attention to political disputes, then this is being done at the expense of stability and economic development. Now, capital flow will be affected by political stability. So will be the talents. At the end of the day, the society of Hong Kong will suffer, and then the general public would also suffer. Therefore, I'm moving this motion, hoping that the Council will support my idea. That is, we should set aside our political disputes, and we should refocus our attention on livelihood issues and economic issues, so that we can join hands to deal with the challenges. As I have said in the beginning of my speech, we are now faced with bottleneck issues. Should we continue with our political disputes, or should we become pragmatic and try to do something which is meaningful and constructive and positive? Now, I think the government should do more, and the government should cooperate with the community and the market forces so that we can build a vision for the development of Hong Kong, so that we can resolve the long-standing livelihood issues in the society. In this way, the people of Hong Kong can share the fruits of our economic development. Thank you.
And I propose a question to you, and that is that the motion moved by Mr. Chan Hak-kan be passed. 5 members will move amendments to this motion. This Council will now proceed to a joint debate on the motion and the 5 amendments. I will call upon members who move the amendments to speak in the following order: Mr. Tang Ka-piu, Mr. Jeffrey Lam, Mr. Sin Chung-kai, Mr. Cheuk-yan, and Mr. Alan Lau. But they may not move amendments at this stage. Mr. Tang Ka-piu. Mr. President. Today, Mr. Gary Chan has moved this motion on developing the economy and improving people's livelihood. The FTU and myself support the motion, but I want to highlight one point. After developing the economy, does it mean that people's livelihood can be improved? Of course, the essential element to improving people's livelihood must be developing the economy, but it is also a matter for the government to decide whether to take the lead to improve people's livelihood and protect people's rights. Only by doing so will the government be able to improve people's livelihood. That is why there are three additional elements in my amendment. That is labor rights, people's retirement life, and also to tackle the aging population. Of course, housing is another problem, but I see that the government has already done a lot on increasing housing supply. So and yet I don't see any effective policy from the government on promoting upward mobility, protecting people's rights and retirement life. So if we don't tackle the problem at source, the problem will only snowball and ultimately affect our economy. These crises and uncertainties may even cause Hong Kong to be marginalized, as suggested by Mr. Gary Chan. And we will no longer have any progress in our development. So I wonder, as per today's motion, which policy secretary should be present. But I see that only Mr. Greg So is here, and I am quite disappointed. Now, our mindset should change. 2 decades ago, we focused only on money. It's all about making money, and people don't care about, the government didn't care about people's livelihood, and this is wrong. The government should, therefore, consider carefully whether developing the economy would definitely lead to improvement on people's livelihood. And just now, Mr. Gary Chan already cited the survey, and the result is clear. Last month, Professor Didden from Princeton University won the Nobel Prize of Economics. The Professor Didden studied on the subject of poverty from consumption patterns. For example, he considered the consumption pattern of the poor and considered that it's more beneficial to the economy than the consumption by the rich. And that is why we should consider whether there are sufficient resources for the poor to lead a dignified life, for people to save money, and also to allow the offspring's a comfortable life. One key element is distribution of or redistribution of wealth, and the traditional wisdom is that we should avoid uneven distribution of wealth. The problem lies with the fact that the wealth gap is widening, and if this happens, it will be difficult to govern. Well, we always talked about our huge reserves, $300 billion, and per capita GDP. In terms of that, we rank the first 30 place. However, for the World Happiness Index of the 158 countries, we ranked roughly in the middle of the list. However, according to another happiness index survey, only about 30% of Hong Kong people considered that they're happy, and we actually rank bottom 4th. The problem is whether the government is willing to do more. And this is not just about dishing out money. This is about introducing government policies to make people lead happy lives. Now, yesterday, Mr. Matthew Cheung announced the details of the low-income working family allowance, and there were responses from different parties. Professor Ip Siu Fai, for example, explained that cash handouts wouldn't do because for ordinary employees, and we're not talking about grassroots workers, even for employees in Hong Kong in general, their wages tend to be low. And they are not assisted by the LIFA, and this is what the government should be concerned about. Now, I acknowledge the government's effort in tackling housing issues. However, in terms of other areas, social ladder, labor rights, retirement, protection. I don't think the government is working on these areas. Now, we have long working hours. It's world-renowned, but this is not, of course, this is not something to be proud of. But the problem is, after working for long hours, employees are not paid the amount they're entitled to. Well, I was told by a resident that her daughter just graduated from university, and she worked as an accountant at $9,500 for 10 hours a day without OT pay, of course, because OT pay must be part of what a professional life is. And this is the plight of professionals. So are they happy? Even if we change the slow GDP growth, let's say if we have a GDP growth of 5 to 6%, does it mean that people will be happier? For low wages and insufficient labor rights will make people believe that they are not paid for their hard work. Now, on labor issues, or standardization of general holidays and labor holidays, and also standard working hours, the government should work on these two issues so that Hong Kong people could spend time with their family, with their children. Well, for overseas corporations, they have family-friendly employment policies. What about Hong Kong? We only see major banks, corporations, the management trainees or MT who worked in these corporations earned $13,000 at the time when they graduated. That was in my time, but now nowadays for university graduates, they earn the same pay, and they even it is even very competitive. Why is it that despite the high economic growth, people can't enjoy the fruit of success? Why is it that for some people there is no improvement on their livelihood? So this is what the government should tackle. In terms of labor issues, the government must not drag on its feet. The other problem is population aging, or an aging population. Well, there have been lots of discussion on the topic, but no action. In the end, although there are discussions on the retirement protection, the government continues to sit on its reserves and people continue to feel aggrieved. So we're talking about developing the economy and improving people's livelihood at the same time. And it's not just about giving cash handouts. There should be more protection for employees and also retirement protection. More should be done. I believe only by doing so will Hong Kong be a wealthy and harmonious city. Now, recently there have been studies on ghost cities. For example, Detroit in the western part of America and also some mainland cities. They became they became abandoned places because of development. They had a good start, but gradually they are abandoned by people living there. So my point is, if we can't tackle the wealth gap, if we can't tackle the problems, in the end, those with potential will leave, and the grassroots problems will not be resolved. So, Secretary, apart from developing the economy, on retirement protection and social ladder and the labor rights, you should tackle these fronts to resolve the problems.
Mr. Jeffrey Lam. Mr. President, Mr. Chan Hak-kan is moving a motion to develop the economy and improve people's livelihood. I think this is our slogan as well. Since the establishment of the BPA we've always emphasized that the business should lead economic development and the professionals should help to address livelihood issues. We hope that the businessmen and the professionals can help so that we get sufficient resources to make sure that we can spend money on livelihood issues, and then the living environment can be improved, and then the economy of Hong Kong can develop over a long period of time so that we have a broader outlook and we have more opportunities for development and we have room to move socially upwards. In the past, we used to be seen as a city of vibrancy, very hardworking, very efficient, a place where the East met with the West. And we've been hospitable, friendly to every visitor, and we've been tolerant and inclusive. We have mainland China as our hinterland, and we are facing the world. And so Hong Kong is the place where the world sees China, and also Hong Kong is also the window where the mainland goes out to meet the world. So we have been playing the role as the bridge, and I don't think this is a comparable position. When the East meets with the West, usually the focus and attention is on us. Now, with the opening up of the mainland policies and more mainlanders going overseas to study, and there are more and more experience in exchanges with the Western world, well, in fact, there are many channels for the outside world to know China, and they don't need to go via Hong Kong. Therefore, the world has changed, and then information has changed, technology has changed. Hong Kong is not the only channel for the rest of the world to know China. So our advantage has changed. And for the people of Hong Kong, I think we need to find out whether our thinking has become outdated or not. Are we still overcoming the challenges, or are we sort of still being complacent with previous successes? Unfortunately, in recent years, the society has changed. We have the Occupy Central movement, we have the filibustering, etc., etc., and we've also got the prospering of the localism. Now, when faced with competition, when faced with the aspirations of the young generation, it seems that we are not trying to find a way out. We are not trying to learn more about the world. We are turning the dissatisfaction into anger, and we take it out on the SARG as well as the Central People's Government. Many people have told me that they no longer know the Hong Kong that they used to know. Hong Kong has become a populist place. It is heartbreaking to see that we just blame each other. We just refuse to adjust our thinking and try to restart Hong Kong. Hong Kong is a small economy. Hong Kong is an externally oriented economy. We are vulnerable to the changes in the external environment. I think we're faced with external uncertainties. And internally, if there isn't any unity, if there isn't any prosperity and stability, then we will lose out. Now, for the external uncertainties, our competitiveness is falling. According to the 2015 report on competitiveness, Shenzhen has outdone Hong Kong by becoming the most competitive city in China. Our innovation industry is not performing very well. We haven't achieved any breakthrough. We are over-relying on trade, shipping, financial services, and tourism. We haven't got any new industries being developed or supported. And then for the World Economic Forum, 2015-2016 World Competition Report, we ranked 7th. Singapore ranked 2nd. And in fact, for financial services, we have always been proud of that, and we have lost our first place, and we have fallen to the 3rd place, and the crown has been grabbed by Singapore. And for innovation, we rank 27th, while Singapore is in the first 10 places. So our poor performance in innovation and technology means that we are not able to become a leading financial services center. There are many external uncertainties, and then we are under the cloud of terrorism. So there are lots of downside risks. As soon as the U.S. Lift up its interest rates, then there will be huge fluctuations in the financial market. There will be even more uncertainties. And for the mainland market, the economy is slowing down. When there is a hard landing, then Hong Kong will be impacted, and we don't know the extent. And in 2015, there was the yearbook on world competition issued in Lucerne. And we were told that the ability to govern, political instability, and unity within the society of Hong Kong are the three areas which we have inadequacies. We must admit that they are related to the deep-rooted conflicts in Hong Kong. The economy of Hong Kong is transforming, and then the social mobility has been reduced. There are housing problems, and there is the wealth gap that is widening. So the young people in particular have a lot of grievances. Their dissatisfaction has also spread to the Legislative Council, and when it goes to the social media, it has resulted in criticisms and scolding, and they are creating voices and noises that are dragging the feet of the government, and the government has found it difficult to implement the policies. Of course, some policy bureaus have not carried out adequate consultation or has not thought through the problem adequately. But at the same time, there are also opposition for the sake of objection, never thinking about whether what they are doing is in line with the long-term interests of Hong Kong. They just want to topple what has been established, and they just want to reject everything, and they are not constructive, they are not positive at all. So we have got a lot of hair-splitting criticisms. What the government in Hong Kong SAR do is to be humble and be well prepared, and the positive comments should be taken on board in launching policies. No policies will be perfect. This is because the society is very divided and there is a host of different ideas. But as long as we have got thorough consultation, and if we take into account the best interests of Hong Kong in the long term, then the public would understand which is for the good of Hong Kong and which is unreasonable comments. Mr. President, the District Council elections have just been completed. I think we should learn something from it. The young people is the future of Hong Kong. We should take their aspirations seriously, and they want to take part in public affairs. I don't think we should antagonize them. At the same time, just blaming the government cannot find a better way forward for the young people, and it may not help with the social mobility of the young people. Every day the world is changing. The earth doesn't revolve around Hong Kong. We need to set aside our old mindset, and we should put aside our disputes and prejudices. We should have more communication, hoping that we can resolve the problems. Otherwise, we'll still be in a deadlock, and then the future of Hong Kong, the future of our younger generation will not be facilitated. It won't do us any good. Thank you.
Mr. Sin Chung-kai, thank you. Of course, it is our work target to develop our economy and to improve people's livelihood, given that there is a reasonable allocation of resources. The Democratic Party agrees that, over 70% of Hong Kong people agrees that there should be universal suffrage for CE election and LegCo. We want genuine universal suffrage, and that's our understanding. We don't want screening. if CY Leung and the loyalists agree that this is what the Hong Kong people want, then there will be universal suffrage, and the government can focus on developing our economy. The crux of my amendment is also related to something said that is about Hong Kong in the 5th plenary session. It says that the relationship and the cooperation between Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan should be strengthened. The role and function of Hong Kong should be strengthened. Hong Kong's economic development should be supported. There should be democracy promoted and harmony promoted. Gary Chan's original motion might have neglected the directives issued by the central authorities. As a result, the promotion of democracy and harmony has gone missing. Hong Kong enjoys a unique advantage. With one country, with one belt, one road, if Hong Kong can make good use of our strength, we can elevate our status as the international financial center. With facilitating policies, livelihood issues can be resolved. And we need support from the public. There is difficulty in policy implementation because CY Leung's government doesn't have public mandate, and that is inevitable. Democracy, livelihood, and the economy are closely related. If central authority supports Hong Kong in its promotion of democracy and harmony, then how come the original motion has left that out? Did they deliberately go run counter to the directive of the central authority? That's why I want to plug this gap. Well, the loyalists ignore the expectation of central authorities. Our Chief Executive CY Leung has changed the directives as well. Last week when CY Leung met with Xi Jinping afterwards, the China News Agency said that, there should be harmony promoted in Hong Kong. However, when CY Leung mentioned what was exchanged, harmony promoted has been left out, and he only said that he was told to keep up the good work. However, that was missing from the China News Agency report. If CY Leung stays, then there will be no future for Hong Kong. We don't have harmony, and policies are not properly implemented because the government implement policies that are unpopular. Say, for example, brainwashing national education, fake universal suffrage. Some people even suggested using our country park to build flats. Well, these are unpopular policies. This has torn Hong Kong society apart, and it's because of CY Leung. In the end, Hong Kong people suffer. CY Leung loves to pick a fight. The loyalists defend blindly the government, even when the government is making mistakes, and they vote down all motions that will benefit society. Like last week, there was a motion moved by Helena Wong about investigation into excessive lead in water. It's been voted down. We have a chief executive that loves to pick a fight, and a group of legislators who blindly support the government. So whenever there are disputes, the disputes will only be elevated to a different level. In the long run, this will drag Hong Kong into the mud. And in a report issued in May 2015, it says that Hong Kong's competitiveness Last year was just next to the U.S. We ranked second. However, when it comes to our Gini coefficient and also our economy, our indicators, it has dropped a lot. The report also said that in the past year, well, the Gini coefficient was 4.9 and the economic indicator was 7.9. This is closely related to whether the government's promoting harmony. And on 30th of September, the World Economic Forum released a report. We ranked 7th, but we have lost our leading status in competitiveness in the financial services. We've been outdone by Singapore and New Zealand. Well, we face three challenges: inefficient government efficiency, lack of manpower, and lack of competitiveness. There are also a number of other factors as well. These reports said that Hong Kong has a high ranking. However, when it comes to the subgroups, our positions have dropped. And it shows that we have unstable political situation. Well, there is a chance that we will drop in the overall ranking. We may lose our position as the international financial center. Without harmony in society, how can we have a stable economic development? We think we should emphasize that a harmonious society is not one with only one view. Hong Kong is a pluralistic society. 100 people can have 100 different views, and they will still respect one another. And society differences can be resolved through democracy. The stagnant development of our economy is a result of excessive interference from the central authorities. Hong Kong people don't trust the central authorities. How can we trust them? Because there is one person that is anointed by the central authorities. It's not our choice. We want to elect our own chief executive. We don't want to choose among those that have been chosen by the central authority. We want an election with a low threshold so that different people with different political affiliations and different political views can run in the election. We want universal suffrage for CE, but before that we need universal suffrage for LegCo. The small circle election results in the interests of the selected few affecting the interests of the majority. We have to abolish FC as soon as possible. We need universal suffrage. We need harmony before we can succeed. Hong Kong is closely connected to mainland China. With the opportunity of One Belt, One Road, we will have a lot of opportunities. It will be a shame if we lose these opportunities because of political disputes. I so submit.
會現在暫停，明天上午9時。
Meeting adjourned to be assumed at 9 o'clock tomorrow.